What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. And I'm back with yet another album review, and we are kicking off 420 weekend here on 420. I did this on purpose because it made the most sense. Here today on 420, I am talking about the latest offering from High on Fire, Cometh the Storm. This came out actually on April 19th on MNRK Heavy Records. And this is their 9th album and their first one, excuse me, in 6 years since Electric Messiah, which out of nowhere got them a Grammy Award, which is pretty interesting. And I have Electric Messiah, and I checked it out when it came out, and I thought it was a killer album. Like, definitely going for more of like a hybrid of their sludge metal and speed metal roots. This album, however, I say is quite a bit different. Like, this one definitely feels like more of the older High on Fire style. Like, it's definitely more doomy, sludgy, and stoner metal-esque with some speed metal moments in here. After all, Matt Pike, might as well call him the modern-day Lemmy. He's the closest thing we have to Lemmy vocally, even though you also got the Lemmy of German thrash with Tom Angel Ripper. But that's a debate for another time. But yeah, this album, I will say, like, three big things stand out a lot about this album. The raw, gritty production. After all, it was Kurt Ballou from Converge who did the production for this, and did a hell of a job at making everything sound audible but gritty. Like, even the bass tone is quite nasty on here, as well as the guitar tones. The drum tones on this album sound huge. Like, that snare sound almost reminds me of Darkthrone's Old Star. Like, it sounds like a shotgun going off, which is really cool, and I like that snare sound. But yeah, that's one big thing that stands out about this album. The other two things kind of coincide together. You get a lot of tribal drums. After all, this is a new drummer. I forget his name off the top of my head. But yeah, he's doing a lot of like tribal percussion all throughout this album, pretty much in almost every single song. And then the other big thing, they even like to hang on riffs. Like, pretty much all these songs like to hang on a lot of riffs for a long time and only a couple of progressions. But it does make you appreciate the riffs a little bit more whenever they're being played song, because it's like, man, Matt Pike still knows how to write some riffs. Kicking things off with Lamb's Bread. It's sludgy, but with that speed metal D beat, so it's like a perfect hybrid of like classic High on Fire and modern High on Fire, with the speed metal and the sludge metal roots kind of coming together. It almost gets hardcore at times, as there's some cool like hardcore build-ups here and there, and even occasional Middle Eastern sections towards the end. Burning Down. This one was definitely one of the songs that felt closest excuse me, to like stoner doom. Like, this is more of like a stoner doom track, but with a nasty bass line. And I gotta say, the drum turnovers on this track might be up there for some of my favorite drum turnovers on the album. But yeah, it's just got that kind of almost like Sleep and early Black Sabbath kind of stoner, smoky cannabisness to it. Hard to describe, but it's a very catchy riff throughout. Then, oh god, I gotta try and pronounce this. Trismegistus. I probably got that wrong, but this one gets very gallopy. Like, this is one of quite a few songs on the album where you get more galloping riffs that feel like a stoner version of Iron Maiden, I would say, because it's just a galloping stampede of guitars, but with those tribal beats kind of commingling together, and even some chugging riffs. Like, there's some flat-out chugs going on this song. The title track, I like this one because this one's just straight-up primal and doomy and sludgy as fuck. And even, like, the bass, like, watching the music video for this song, like, the bassist, he's not really, like, plucking or anything like that. He's mostly, like, just using his fingers with the fretboard to kind of give off some of the bass lines, along with some, I guess you would say, clean guitars, and with the tribal drums on top. Karanlik Yol, I think I got that one right. The one and only instrumental, and it's Middle Eastern music all over the place. And I thought it was pretty cool to kind of lead in from the first half of the album to the second half, in which the second half, until we get to the closer, a lot shorter songs. We get into Soul's Golden Curse, very much Black Sabbath. Like this, as well as Tough Guy and Hunting Shadows, those three songs feel very Black Sabbath. Like I'm talking, I would say, Master of Reality and Volume 4 era of Sabbath, where they got a little heavier and a little more doomy, a little more stonery, and I can definitely pick up on those nods there. The Beating, shortest track of the album at about 2.5 minutes, straight up speed metal, Motorhead worship, and I'm all here for it. It's frantic and chaotic as well. Lighting Beard, back again to more of those galloping riffs, but there's some off-time rhythms happening. So, yeah, pretty much, like I said, there's not a whole lot to talk about with the songs because, like I said, they kind of hang on the main riff the whole song with a couple of minor progressions. But then you get to the closer at about 10 minutes with Darker Fleece. The only thing I had to complain about this song was the drawn-out feedback riff in the first 2 minutes. I thought it was kind of much. But then after you get into that, straight up stoner doom goodness. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just awesome riffs, awesome drums. The vocals are just absolutely disgusting. And then the other thing I forgot to mention too, when it comes to leads, yeah, they can kind of be similar in terms of the way they're being performed, but they're either ripping or they're providing atmosphere into your ears. So yeah, like I said, this album pretty much goes for like tribal beats on every single song as well as hanging on the riffs for a long time. And honestly, that's both a positive and a negative on this album. It's a positive because I like hearing tribal drums and a lot of the riffs on here were awesome. But it's also a negative because a lot of the songs can, well, apart from like subtle changes, like whether it be one song sounding more sludgy or stoner doom or speed metal, apart from those minute changes, the formula of the album, and as far as like, okay, let's just hang on to this riff, let's do this tribal beat all over the place, it can kind of get repetitive, and that's kind of a hindrance on this album, for me at least. But the energy behind it and the production behind it makes up for it. So overall, I am going to give this a 3.5. I actually thought this was a really good album. Granted, I like Electric Messiah more because there was just more going on there. Whereas here, it definitely sounds closer to the older High on Fire, but with subtle Electric Messiah moments in here. I just wish, just varietize it up a little bit. That's it. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.